It's very glad to see you. My name is Fethi, and as Global AI Hub, today we will give 3-day durated Python educations. Uh, is there any problem with my voice and camera? Because StreamYard shows that I might have internet connection error. So I think everything's okay. So, hello all and welcome. Today we will together actually. Oh, okay. Together we will start to our introduction to Python course, and we will dive into the Python, what is Python, how to use Python, etc. And actually, I'm a little bit excited because this is my first English course in Global AI Hub. So actually, I'm a little bit excited. I think everything's okay on my side as camera and microphone. Should we wait for a little to people gather? I don't know. How are you? I hope everything's okay. You can write a chat. If I make any mistakes while talking, please forgive me because I'm very excited. This is my first English course, given this broader range of participants. Thank you. While waiting, actually, I want to talk about the 10 million AI. 10 million AI actually is a non-profit project and social good initiative supported by actual leading institutions around the world. And it aims at educating 10 million talents or 10 million people about artificial intelligence and further digitalization fields. And it's completely free, actually. As 10 million AI, as we talk about 10 million AI, the 10 million AI project's another aim is educating 5 million women, because as Global AI Hub and 10 million AI, we are realizing the importance of women in the industry, in every industry. So we are aiming to create the social equalism. And actually, the link is shared in the chat. My friends shared the link of 10 million AI on the chat, so you can investigate further from the link. And if you have any question, please don't hesitate to write. And this course is also has certificate. So all you need to do is take the course, solve the quizzes, and take your certificate. And the course will open for 15 days. So from today, you will have 15 days to complete the course on our platform. I think we can start. Yes, I think we can start a little bit, little. So let me share my screen. Yeah, I think that's okay. So, hello again. Today, I will introduce you to Python, and for 3 days, we will learn about the Python, what is Python, how to use Python, and we will be prepared for the AI age by learning Python. Yes, so the first question, what is Python? Python is a programming language. This is very actually intuitive. Python is a programming language, and it's one of the most popular languages in the world. And it's high-level programming languages. It's high-level programming language. What does it mean, high-level? High-level actually is close to human language while writing the code. So languages like assembly, C is a little bit like a low-level language because it's a little bit far from the human languages while writing the code. But high-level programming languages are close to human languages while writing the code. So it's created by Guido van Rossum in the late 1980s. And a little fun fact about the Python. Python actually does not come from the snake, but it comes from some comedy show. So it uses functional programming and object-oriented programming logic. What does it mean? Functional programming means we can write functions in our code and we can create classes and objects from our code. So why do we use Python? Actually, it's a programming language, but why do we choose this? Actually, it's very easy to learn because its syntax are very clear and very easy. And I call Python is a lazy language while implementing because I developed C# for 3 years, and after C#, Python was like a medicine for me. And it's a compilable language, so developers and engineers can change some of the code and see the result faster than compiled language. For example, when you change something on your code and when you write code and click start, your code is compiling, and compiling means actually you're waiting for your code to converting to the machine language. And it's flexible. So the most beautiful thing about the Python, I think, is its flexibility. And while writing your code, you can write your code dynamically. So you don't need the you don't need the restrictions for your code. For example, when you're developing C#, Java, or C, etc., you have to write your code. You have to initialize your variables within some restrictions. For example, you need to implement its type, etc. But Python actually rescues you from this. And this means actually, thanks to its flexibility, you can achieve many more things with a little amount of code compared to C#, Java, or any other programming languages. And Python has a huge community support, which means if you have any problem or if you have anything on your mind, it's very easy to reach someone and make it real or get help. And it can be used in fields, data science, web development, AI projects. Since it has a large scale, you can use Python anywhere on the technology age. So when you learn Python, you don't have to develop only the data science project or only the AI project, but you might develop some web developments, web projects. Actually, we answered this question previously, but let us actually review these answers. It's an easy language to develop, so it's very easy to develop Python. That's why actually Python is considered as the first step of AI. And it has a large data science artificial intelligence library ecosystem. So if you want to develop data science or artificial intelligence, machine learning, deep learning projects, there are a lot of modules, libraries, and frameworks to make you achieve that. And it is faster than compiled languages, and this reduces the waiting time in your project. So because while you are training your module, you're already waiting for your module to be trained. And actually, let's think about it. You already waiting your module to train. Why you have to wait another time to make your code compiled? So it's very actually not logical. So that's why actually Python is considered the first step to AI, because it's faster than compiled languages, and once you click the start, it actually starts immediately compared to compiled languages. So this is for today, joking. This is for the presentation right now, and now we will see the Python in action actually. So let me open my notebook here, and let me share my screen again. Okay, I hope you can see my screen. So right now we will see Python in action, and we will learn how to code Python. So we already know what Python is. Why do we using Python and why Python is considered as the first step of AI. Right now, we will see Python. Actually, we will see how to write Python. Sorry for my bad English, childish English. So, data types. Actually, before that, just think about it. Every project, every software in the world, I mean literally every software in the world uses data. So there is no software that doesn't use data, doesn't use data. So that's why data is the most important and fundamental thing about any other programming languages. That includes actually Python. So here, in the first step, we need to define data and we need to see the data types which we can use in Python. Okay, let us see. I will not actually read all of them: int, float, string, bool, list, etc., etc. I will not read that. So, but actually, we will revise that. So, just think about it. Think about the data in your daily life. Forget about the data types of the Python. What are those? Numbers. It may be words, maybe characters, maybe booleans, true or false. Maybe you may want to a collection type, for example, that stores multiple data in it, complex types, etc., etc. So let's review all of the data. Number, word, characters. Actually, word and characters are the same thing in Python. And numbers, words, and booleans, and the collections. For example, array. Maybe you heard about array if you're implementing your code on C#, Java, etc., etc. So let us actually continue with the numbers. Right now, we will learn about what the numbers are on Python. So we have actually three types of numbers. The first one is integer. It's very simple. It's integer, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. The second one is float. So actually stores floating point, real number. What does it mean? 3.7, 3.9, maybe 5.8, etc., etc. And the complex stores complex number for imaginary numbers. Maybe you remember from your high school days. Actually, frankly, I'm not remembering it very well. So yes, here we will see about the creating a variable and creating a data. In every programming languages, when you want to store your data for further use, you have to implement a variable. The reason that is called variable is you may change the value of this variable in your later codes, or maybe you can access the value of it, but its value may be vary if you change it. For example, implementing or declaring would be very good choice of word. Variables. So the first thing in Python for declaring variable is deciding the name. So I'm writing the name of the variable and I'm giving the value of this variable. So the first thing you need to be careful about is if you are implementing code on your code on C#, C, Java, etc. for the other programming languages, you need to enter the type of the data, such as if you are implementing the integer typed value. So you have to write this down. Integer, for example, num equals to, or maybe string, for example, name equals to blah blah. But as we discussed before, Python is actually dynamic language, so you can code your codes dynamically, which means Python understands your data type on the value. So for example, Python looks this code and says, okay, I have num variable, so this num variable's value is 100. Okay, so this 100 is type of int. So which means my num variable's type is int, as you can see here. But maybe we may run this cell and we see the result by ourselves. Okay, let us wait. Yes, as you can see here, I declared my variable as 100 on an integer type because it's integer. So my type is integer. So I can look the type of a variable by type method here, and print method actually writes console some message. So I'm saying that, yeah, okay, I have a non-variable, so look the type for the variable and print this for me on the console. That's what I say. And actually, as we talk about the variables, why don't we change the value of it? Because we said you can change the value of a variable. For the other programming languages, as we talked about before, C#, Java, you can change your value by using another type value. For example, you have integer num here on C#, just assume we are using C#. You can't do that because C# restricts you, and it says if you implemented this variable as integer, you only can use integer to reassign this value. For example, you can do this, but you can't do this, or you can't do this, etc. But in Python, you can do this. Let us reassign the value, and let's look at the type of the same variable. Yeah, as you can see, there are no problem. So I changed my data, and as you can see, this is a float because it has floating point number, and the type of this variable is float. And also, I multiplied my value with 10, and as my new value is float, so if you multiply some float value with some integer value, you get float. And the type of this data is float, the expression1 variable. So what did we do here? We created another variable and we use some non-variable to compute the value of this new variable. That's okay. That's doable. And another expression is using the actually previous two variables. Actually, I'm using, so I don't have num here. Maybe I can create here. Let's say 10.8. Okay, so maybe I can do this. And the type of this float, because I have float data here. If you add some integer value with float, you'll get float. Why? Because, for example, think about the result of this. What will the result of this? It will be this, right? So this one is here integer, this one is here float, so you'll get float value. That's all. So mathematical function on numbers. So when you think about numbers, the other thing that comes up in my mind is mathematics, and I strongly believe that it actually it is the same for you too. So when think about numbers, the first thing that comes in your mind is mathematics. So we can do mathematical operations on the numbers. For example, Python supports lots of mathematical functions in it. So here, round, abs, and type are the built-in functions, which means you can use it with Python and you don't need to implement or install or import anything else because it comes with Python by default. So here, for example, round means actually here, maybe I can edit this. Sorry, sometimes there might be some problems. So here, round actually means removing this point and actually change your number. For example, round does that according to your floating point value, change your value. For example, if you're, let's think about this. let's talk about this. If your floating value, point value is equal or greater than 5, it rounds to its ceiling actually. What is the ceiling of 2.5? Its ceiling is 3, right? Because you got the next value here, which means its ceiling. And if your floating point value is less than 5, so it takes actually the floor value of it. Is that okay? So round does that. If your floating point value is less than 5, so it takes this floor value. But if your floating point value is greater than 5, which is 9 here, so it takes the ceiling of this number. So AB is actually absolute value. So what does absolute value do? If you have a negative value here, you take the positive of it. And if you have positive value, you don't have to do anything because absolute only works with negative. That's all. So my favorite part for the first day, mathematical operators. So mathematical operators, actually you all know about these mathematical operations: summing, differencing, multiplicating, dividing, taking exponential of it, dividing again. So I will talk about this, why actually is writing division and divide again, and taking mode of it. So let's start. First thing first, I have a value x, which is equals to 10, and this is type of integer. That's okay. Brilliant. So what will you expect to get when you add 2 of it? 20, right? And its type is integer. Is that okay? Okay. So what is the difference of 2? 10. What will happen when you subtract 2 from 10? So you'll get 8, and the type of this value will be integer again. Is that right? So think actually mathematically. Think normal mathematics. Let step aside from a Python a little bit. When you're adding some integer value to integer value, for example, 10, adding 10 to 2, but we will get 20, right? So that will be an integer too. So multiplication, same. If you multiply some integer value with integer value, you'll get integer value too. That's okay. And if you're yes, actually this is where the things a little bit will change. So when you divide some integer value with integer value, what are you expecting? You'll get 5, right? Because you're actually expecting some integer value. But let us see here. Yes, but we got 5.0. Why did we get that? Shouldn't we get the integer value? Because logically, when I divide some integer value with integer value, I must have some integer value. But why am I getting the value as float? The real reason behind this, actually, the Python is a lazy language. So Python says that, yes, you are dividing some integer value with integer value, but I don't have to check if it's integer value. So I don't have to check that if this result will have remainder or not. So I don't want to check this if this actually division will be result some value that has remainder. So Python says that, and that's why Python says, okay, you're dividing this, but I'm giving you floating points. I'm giving you float because I don't have to check if this result has remainder or not, or maybe you are dividing. Maybe think about this. Maybe you are dividing some floating point, right? Maybe 2.2. And as you can see, we get float here. So Python is not actually checking if the all values is integer or the result has remainder or not. So it says, okay, you're dividing it. I'm a lazy programming language, so I'm giving you this float. That's all. So the next thing is exponential. Exponential actually taking the 2 power of 10 here so which is 100, and this will result with integer because I'm taking the power of integer. So let's talk about this double slash. So the single slash means division. Okay, that's okay, but this single slash will result with remainders, right? Like this. But what happens if I use that? Actually, it saves us from the remainders, right? It saves us. So it takes actually 4.0. But please don't be confused about the round. So that doesn't mean that if you're, for example, so here, 2.5 actually, 2.5. Actually, these are not important. 2.5. So if you round this, you will get the ceiling of this value, which is 5, right? But in double slash, you're not taking the round of it, but you're actually clearing the remainders. That's okay. So the next thing here we have to talk about is the variables. Actually, we talk about them. So variables actually are the objects that store values and might be changed during your implementation. But actually, there are, how do you name it? Yes, we are giving names such as x, expression 1, num, num2, expression 2, etc. But in Python, actually, it applies for other programming languages too. There are actually naming conventions while you're giving your variable a name. So variables must begin with a letter or an underscore. For example, here, name begins with a letter or maybe with an underscore. And actually, there are several cases while giving your name, such as snake case, camel case, etc. Snake case means while you are using a variable name, if you use more than one word, for example, what can we say? Yeah, user, name, etc. So maybe you want to do that, and you can't do that while giving your variable a name. And if you separate them with underscore, this means this is a snake case. But if you do that, this is camel case. So in C#, Java, C, most of the variable names are being created with camel case, but in Python, actually snake case is a traditional way. But if you implement your variables like this, like camel case, it won't actually give error. But actually, this is a naming convention. And they are case sensitive, which means when you implement this, you can't access this variable like this because it's case sensitive, right? All of your letters must be lower when you want to reach this variable again. And keywords should not be overwritten by keywords. Okay, that's funny. What does it mean? For example, there are some special keywords on Python, such as not. As you can see, the color is changing while writing that, such as if, such as return, such as case. Oh, no, not case. Sorry, I'm joking. I confused with C# in a moment. What can we say? While, etc., etc. So you can give your variable names on these names because it's allocated keywords on Python. Okay. So here I will be talking about the strings, which contains the characters. For example, previously we've seen about numbers, which holds only the numbers 1, 1.5, 10, etc., etc. Here we will see a data type that stores the special characters. What does it mean, special characters? For example, let's say ST, which is actually shortened name for the string. And you can use letters, that's okay. I'm pressing randomly. Numbers, that's okay too. Special characters such as dot, comma, question mark, etc., etc. So we can do this. So it will not give error because string can hold any actually type of special characters. By special characters, I mean like these characters. Is that okay? That's okay. So there are several ways to define a string, implement a string variable in Python. And the first thing is using single quotes. So you can implement your Python string with using single quotes, and Python will understand that everything inside these quotes is a string variable value. For example, the value of the name is Python. And also you can use double quote instead of single quote, and that's okay too. In C#, fundamental tips, actually, you don't have to learn, or you don't have to realize, or you don't have to memorize it. In C#, you are creating character with single quotes. For example, you can't write that because it's multi-character, but you have to do that, etc., etc. But in Python, string actually takes place of the char data type of C#, and we can implement a string with single or double quote. And also you can implement multi-line string, which means if you do this, if you implement this single or double quote, you can't do this, right? You can't do, for example, language. You can't do this because you actually skipped a line. But if you actually write them on the same line and inside of the double quote or single quote, your string will be fine. But if you, what if you want to implement this with multi-line? You are using 3 quotes. And inside of this 3 quotes, you may add as much as line you want. For example, here, here, and here, and here. So I can write commands on multiple lines because why not, right? So all the 3 variables, so all these 3 variables is type of string, as you can see. And what if I want to write the value of a string? We didn't do that actually much. The only thing that actually, the first thing and the only thing I have to do is printing the value of the variable. So I want to write the variable of name, which is Python. And what about the name 3? As you can see here, it wrote as we wrote, right? It printed actually as we wrote. That's okay. That's great. So, string concatenation. What if you have to concatenate 2 strings, adding them to each other to create a new string? Actually, I didn't like it. I didn't like this. Actually, I like this, but I didn't like this much because I have actually better explanation implementation. What if creating a new value, surname, and add them to each other? So if you add numbers with each other, you'll get mathematical result. For example, if you add 10 and 2, you'll get 20. 12, sorry, right? Maybe if you add 5 and 2, you'll get 7. But in strings, actually, there are no mathematical there is no mathematical way to add two strings because they are not actually mathematically logical. So if you add two or more strings with each other, maybe I can comment this out. And I will talk about the comments too, by the way. Maybe. Let's see, what will we get? We get, yes, we add them to each other, and what did the Python does? So it takes the value of first name and it takes the value of last name and add them to concatenate them to each other. But actually there's a little problem here, which is I need extra space here, right? So to achieve that, I might do this, right? Because this also is a string, right? This is a value which type string, and this is a value which has type string, and this is also string. So I'm adding three strings with each other, which means here I get the actually correct result. Okay, that's brilliant. So what if I want to print this? Oh, I printed it. Okay. I already printed it. So let's talk about the comments, actually. What are the comments in the Python and why do we use it? What are the comments and how to train them? So the comments actually are the piece of writings, let's say. Actually, just saying only the piece of code will not be true because you may comment some writings. For example, this method is deprecated, etc. Maybe. Actually, it aims to give a little intuition about the code if you are working on a team, or maybe you are developing this project and you will look after this project. Actually, you will look this project after a long time and remember what this method does, what this piece of code does, etc. So it's actually a message for yourself or for your teammates. It doesn't matter. For comment is actually commenting on something, giving or writing a message or something. Or sometimes, if you don't want to execute a piece of code, you're commenting them out too, as we did here previously. So comments will not be executed by Python, but still it might exist in your Python file, like this. So when I do this, as you can see, it will not give error. But if I remove this command, as you can see, since this is not a Python code, it will give error, right? So if you want to use single line command, you are using a num symbol like this. But if you want to use multiple lines of commands, for example, this command is very long because I want it to be like that. So actually, it's really painful to actually add all the lines this number symbol. Instead of this, what about do this? This is 3 double quote. And I'm writing this 3 double quote actually in the beginning of the command and at the end of the command. So all the lines between these two, actually 3 double quote, will be interpreted as command by Python. So Python, when Python looks at it, it will say, yeah, okay, I have 3 double quote here, I have 2 double quotes here, and all the lines between them is a command that I will not execute these lines. Sorry. Blah blah, something, etc., etc. Yeah, actually, that's very good to see. This is not an error, by the way. This actually is a feature. Actually, I prefer to say feature of a notebook. So on notebook, on Colab Notebook, when you use a multi-line comments at the end of your code, Notebook will show this comment with like this. So all these backslash n's means the new line. Yeah, the next concept is type conversion. So we talked about the types, which are numbers, strings, etc. And we talk about on the other programming languages, if you implement some variable with strict type, such as integer, float, string, you can change its type. So let's review that. For example, oh, sorry. Where am I? Yes. On C#, maybe you are creating a variable like this, and afterwards your code, you can't do this because you implemented this as an int, right? You can't assign a float point to that. Actually, you can convert your type. You can convert your integer value to float and then can assign this. Actually, this scenario is applying with Python, but in a different way, because in Python, you don't have to change your variables type to assign a new type to value, right? For example, let's say we want to take an input from user. Wouldn't be nice? So actually, so far, we implemented our variables and our values, but what if we ask the user that, what is your name? Or give me a number and I will multiply this, a number that you want again, and I will give the result. So wouldn't it be nice? So to do that, to achieve that, we will take an input from user and we will process this input and return some value or print some value. To achieve that, we have to use input function of Python, which can be implemented as input. So this parameter here actually indicates that to user that which information that user have to give. So for example, when we execute this, so this empty for as a user, I don't realize what should I enter here, my name, a number, I don't know. But to make this clarify, we have to give some message to user. For example, please enter a number that will be multiplied with 2. Now we're talking. So let's input. Okay, that's all. Actually, it didn't do nothing. Why is that? Because I only took this input. I didn't process it. I didn't store it on a variable. I just took it. But I have to store this variable. So I choose user entered value name for my variable. And now let's print this user entered value. So I'm giving 20 and it gives 20. So I'm giving 15. Oh, it's dynamically changed. So it's very brilliant. So far we did very good. Okay. Right now we have to multiply this value with 2, right? And give the user, right? Okay, let's do this. Multiply with 2. Let's do this. Maybe give 15 again. So actually, it's very brilliant result. So it shouldn't be like that, right? If you multiply 15 with 2, you should have get 30. So why do you think this happens? Please comment. So why do you think it prints 15, 15 instead of 30? Do you have any idea, actually? I'm waiting, but I think there is no result, or there is no. Okay. The answer is coming. Very brilliant answers, by the way. Very brilliant answers. Thank you very much. Thank you for your answers. Thank you to all of you. So actually, the point is right. If you multiply a string with an integer, for example, let's say 15 again, and multiply with 2, you'll get 15, 15. So multiplying a string with an integer does write the string or concatenates the string as much as the number here. So since we have 2 here, it writes 15, 15. It concatenates 15 2 times. But what if I would have 10? So I will have a result that concatenating 15 10 times with each other. 15, 15, 15, 15, 15. It does that 10 times. So actually, we indicated the problem. So we have string here. So here, actually, I will think about that. Actually, I would realize that this input returns me a string value, right? That's the type of this user entered value. What is the type of the user entered value? For example, 15 again. You have string. So if user gives some input here, and if I gather this input to a variable, it doesn't matter. So its type is string, but I want it integer because I want to make mathematical operation on it, right? So what should I do? I have to convert it to integer. So I have to make type conversion. Is that okay? Right. I think it's okay. To achieve that, yes, okay. Let's copy this value because we already know. Oh, sorry. Let's close this. Oops, fatal error. And I want to user entered. I want to do this again too. So in between these two lines, I will have to write something that will meet my requirements. Why should I do type conversion? Actually, it's very simple with Python. So user entered value int. Let's actually create a new variable, and to make type conversions, you have to write the name of the type, and you have to give your desired value that you want to be converted as parameter. For example, I want to convert the string to integer, and to do that, I'm writing integer, the type of this, and give this value because I want to convert this to integer. And if I do that again, let's say 15 again, yes, I get my correct result. That's very okay. Actually, there are good answers are coming. So in order to do this, actually, let's simplify and make a little bit beautiful code too. Let's do this. Instead of this, you can change the type of the input, right? Because it's what you do in the end. When you do this, actually, it produces the same output because you're converting this input, the string variable, the string value, to integer. So what if you can't remember the name of the data type which you want to convert? For example, I want to convert integer, but I forgot the integer. I forgot if it is integer or int or intage, etc. Maybe you forgot this. What will you do? You'll do that. What you should do is, actually, what am I doing in these times is look for the times of the data. For example, you know which data type you want to convert. For example, yes, I want to convert a number, and this is a number. Okay, so I don't know if I should use integer or like this. Okay, to indicate that, just write the type of the variable, and you'll get int. Okay, which means I can use int. For example, if you want to convert your variable to a string, etc., like that. Okay. Let's see what will happen here. So we got error. We got error because when you multiply two strings, these two strings will be concatenated with each other. And when you sum, actually, did I say multiply? I can't remember 10 seconds ago. If you add a string with string, it will be concatenated. They will be concatenated with each other. And if you add an integer with integer, these operations will be mathematically. But if you actually add some string and integer with each other, it will produce error because Python says, yes, I know how to handle with string and string addition, and I know how to handle with integer and integer addition, but I don't know how to handle with string and integer addition. So please give me both of them as integer or string. It doesn't matter. So change the type of the variable that you might convert. Okay. To overcome actually this problem, oh, that's very cool. Okay, that's very cool. To overcome this problem, you might actually take two steps, actually two-way, not two steps, two-way. The first way is converting this to strings to match the data types, and maybe you can convert the integer to this to match the data types. But if you convert this integer, it will throw another error which says this is not a number, so I can convert to an integer. Let's say like this. Because it doesn't mean anything numerically, right? Yes, to overcome this problem, yes, I'm using username plus. So age, I want to turn to my age variable to a string type, and let us see the type of this age that converted to string. Yes, string. And as you can see, it concatenated because both of them are string. Yes, and also, as actually we saw how to change integer to string, and also you can convert string to an integer. For example, num_string. I got 7 because 7 is my favorite number. Not like about 50. So let us convert this num_string to an integer, and let us see the result. And yes, it's okay 7, but should we trust it? Because when you write this, it also says the 7. The only thing to be sure, the only way to be sure is looking at the type of it. Yes, it's integer. And what is the type of it? Evet, yes, string. I said yes in Turkish 2 seconds ago. Yes. Here we converted our string to an integer, and here we got string. So we got formatted strings. Actually, this is my favorite concept with strings, formatted strings. Sometimes actually you may find this as f-string. Actually, don't read this. My team will be very pissed off with me, but don't read this. So let us actually work with the practice. For example, you want to you have, for example, you have multiple variables in string typed. For example, like this: first name 𝗤𝘁𝘁𝗶𝘂𝘁, last name 𝗤𝘁𝘁𝘁, and my welcome message is like that. Okay. So what does this line do? This line does is actually adding the strings with each other with plus. So because I know if you add your strings with each other, it will be concatenated with each other. Okay. But actually it tires my eyes, right? It tires my eyes. So hoş geldin. Maybe we can change it here with welcome. Yes, welcome plus space plus first name plus space plus last name. Ooh, I'm tired. I'm exhausted. So it produces this. To write this, actually, we wrote this. So it's very ridiculous. I think it's my opinion, by the way. But here I want to introduce you to 𝗣𝘆𝘁𝗶𝗂𝗰𝘁𝗵, which allows you to create these type of strings in a brilliant way. What do I mean? What do I mean with this kind of string? This kind of string actually adds multiple strings with each other, and these strings might be statically coded strings such as welcome, and might be dynamically, which means I might use a variable to actually build this string, right? For example, what if I say Taha, which is my brother? Yes, it's dynamically changed, right? Because the value of this variable changed. So as long as this variable's value is changing, this message will be changed, right? Dynamically changing. But welcome is always staying because it's statically implemented, but it's dynamically implemented because we implemented the variable here. Because variable might be varied, right? You can change the value of a variable. That's why they are variable. So here, the actually easiest way to achieve that, which I want to introduce you, is the 𝗣_string here. To do that, let's rewrite this again. So welcome message, okay. And actually, it's a little bit different from normal string because I put the f on the beginning of this string. Actually, the 𝗣_string concept comes from here. Sorry. I'm murdering English, I know. So here we have statically implemented string. That's okay. And yes, I can give my space here too. But instead of adding the other strings with plus, I'm using the curly brackets. With curly brackets, inside of these curly brackets, I might use the variables or Python code. For example, what do I mean with Python code or variables? Yes, this is variable, right? That's okay. I might use variable here, but maybe I'm a maniac and I want to write my name twice, right? Because I'm multiplying this string with twice. And also here, with a little space again here, because I'm constructing my strings, and again, I'm using my last name. So what Python does here, realizes that this is 𝗣_string. Okay, since this is 𝗣_string, if I use curly brackets, inside of this curly brackets, I might use Python variables and code. And I might delete that, and let's write the message. So as you can see, thanks to my actually insanity, I wrote 𝗤𝘁𝗵𝘂𝗂𝗰𝘁𝗵 twice here, but I might do that too. I've actually created an 𝗣_string, which is far more actually easier than this one and the less exhausting way of implementing this kind of string. Okay, let's give a break here for 10 minutes and let's meet at 9:10. Okay, 9:10. If you have any questions, you may write, and I might actually answer this when we start again. So let's meet at 9:10. See you on the 10 minutes. Hello again, and welcome again our Introduction to Python course. So please let me read the comments. So the courses will be unlocked actually as you proceed. So when you actually log in our platform and enroll for our courses, you can actually access the materials and the course contents. And this Introduction to Python course will be open for 15 days from now on. So which means it will be open until, let me calculate the dates. I'm very bad at calculating dates. 1, 2, 3, 4. 20th of October. 12, sorry. I'm confusing 12 and 20, but 12. 12th of October, 15 days from now on. And how do we type the string stuff using our keyword? Actually, using your keyword. All you need to do, press F for your keyword. That's all. And I think that's all for the comments. Okay, actually, we might continue, right? If there's not anything else. So I think my voice and sorry, I was reading a new comment. Should you do quizzes right after online course? Okay. You can do quizzes whenever you feel confident, but you have 15 days from today to complete the course completely, actually, solving all the quizzes, mark completing all the videos, etc. But you shouldn't actually do the quiz right after the online course. So you have 15 days to do that. Okay, I think we might continue if there's nothing else. So we left off in string indexes. By the way, let us actually divide the word string and indexes, and let's examine each of them separately. You know what string is? String is a type that might have special characters in it, right? We wrote that. Blah, 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 blah. It's very funny, by the way, to do that, to press the keys randomly. But every beautiful thing has an end, so string is a data type. Index, what index is? Actually, in your collection type, what do I mean with collection? Actually, collection means, by the way, I'm not sharing the string. Sharing the screen, sorry. Right now, I do that. Okay. Okay. I will actually type all the things I've typed again with special characters here. So string is a type. Index actually is collections number, collection element number. What do I mean? What do I mean? Collection is actually a type that holds multiple values in it. Let's talk about string. String actually is a collection too. Why is that? How is that supposed to happen? So, how string is a collection? String is a data type, single data type. How can we assume it's collection? Because, for example, here, let's go through this string with this name. So this string actually is a collection of characters, right? Which is F-E-I-E-T-H-I. All of these actually correct characters. Now it's a collection of characters, but by these characters we mean special characters too. For example, what if I do that? Question mark, star, asterisk, question mark, star. So it's a collection of characters, string. So this means I can access all these characters individually by indexing them. So all these characters has their own unique number. to be called, to be actually gathered. What do I mean? I mean that this F has number 0, this E has number 2, number 1, sorry, number 2, number 3, number 4, number 5, and number 6. So indexing starts with 0. And if I say, okay, Python, get me the 4th index of this name, it will gather me the I. And if I say, okay, Python, get me the 6th index of this string, so it will get me asterisk. If I say, okay, Python, 10th index, it will give error because there are no 10th index here. Is that okay? So actually, I brought you Synax just to actually implement this, just to tell this. But I need 𝗣𝘁𝘁𝗶𝘂𝗰𝘁𝗵, and I don't need 𝗣𝘁𝘁𝗶 actually, but I will try to use my fingers not much. So sorry by the way for the Synax, but actually I think this is the most efficient way to tell the indexes. You have this list or this string, okay? If you want to gather the 0th index, you'll just gather this, right? You just gather this. Is that okay? So this is collection. Yes, this is collection, and you gather the 1st index of it. And if you want to get another index collection, for example, you have this collection and you have 2nd index, 0th index, 1th index, yes, 2nd index. I gather 2nd index. That's all. So this is indexing, actually. You gather a single value in a collection. You get single Synax from a collection of Synax, okay? You just say which Synax you want to get. I want to get the Synax as index 3, by, for example, index 4, etc. This is indexing. So how do you implement indexing in Python? So I've got language variable here. Yes, the second, the last index just dropped. And you have language variable here, which is string Python. And actually, let's re-implement this. What if I want to gather the 0th index of it? What will I get? Oh, spoiler here, but spoiler alert, language, and let's say I got the 0th index. Yes, I got P. Why? Because this is 0th index, 1st, 2nd, 3rd, 4th, 5th, and goes on. It doesn't go on. It doesn't go on. Sometimes I use does and es in the same sentence. It's very annoying for me. For example, let's assume that I want 5th index. So n. Why n? Because 0th, 1st, 1, 2nd, 0th, 1, 1st, 2nd, 3rd, 4th, and 5th. What is the 5th value? Is n. Yes, this is indexing. Gathering a single value in a collection. And by collection, I mean string is a collection of characters. Is that okay? Okay. So actually, this slicing, this concept is the reason why did I bring these Synax, actually. Because I might tell indexing without this Synax, but right now I will need them. So on, we gathered only one value from a collection, right? We got 0th value, 5th value, etc. So we gathered only single value. But what if I want to gather multiple values from a collection, right? How can we do that? Actually, we can do this with slicing. So here we got indexing, and right, we are slicing. Think about it as you're taking a slice of a pie, right? You're taking a portion of a pie and you're eating it, etc. It's slicing. So forget about this. Let's say let's talk about this Synax, right? This Synax, I want to take from 1st and the 3rd index. So here, maybe I want the 0th index, 1st index, 2nd index, 3rd index, and I don't want the other one. So what did I do? I take the portion of the collection, not all of them, not a single one, but a portion of it. But in the other hand, maybe I want these snacks from second index to fourth index, right? I don't want this zeroth index. I don't want this first index, but I want the second index, third index, and fourth index. That's all. What did I do? I took the small portion of it, right? That's what I do. Okay. So my camera is mirroring, by the way. So I will actually react it. Is this 0? By the way, I think this is 0. So this here, actually, let's back to the previous example. I want to gather the snacks from second index to fourth index, right? I don't want this zeroth index. I don't want this one index, but I want second index, third index, fourth index, and I don't want this fifth index. So what did I do? I took a portion of this snacks, right? This is slicing, actually. And I have only 2 fingers to type right now. Okay, thank you, Osan, for the warning. Here, actually, another concept here, maybe I am a maniac. I am not, which is not, but let's assume I am a maniac. And I want these snacks. Yes, I want these snacks from 0th index to 5th index, but I want to take the steps of 2, 2, 2, 2. What do I mean? What do I mean? I want the 0th index. That's okay. But I don't want the first index, but I want second index because I want to take 2 steps. Okay. I don't want the third index. I want to take 2 steps because I want the fourth index. That's all. I have 0th index from 0th index to fourth index, and I'm taking the step of 2, right? I'm a maniac. I did that. So what did I do in the end? In the end, I took a small portion of the snacks, right? Of the collection. I took a small portion of the collection. That's what I do, actually. Here, this is very boring, I think, writing a lot of code, but maybe we can do them one by one and we can see the results. So I have language here, and I say start from 0th index to 3rd index. So Python, let us remember what our language is. Our language was Python, which is 0th index, first index, second index, third index, fourth index, fifth index. So I'm starting with 0th index, and I will take these indexes until 3, but I'm not actually exclusively 3. I'm not actually including 3. So I got PYT. And I can do this in a different way. Maybe I can take from first index to fourth index. Maybe. So first index is Y. First index is Y. T, H, but I'm not taking O because I'm excluding the last index. By the way, I can zoom in if you want, if you have any problems by seeing the code, but where can I zoom it? I think that's okay. Is that okay? No. Maybe I can do this by settings, editor. Oh, I can do this like that, I think. Oh, that's okay. I think that's cool, right? Is that okay, by the way? Can you see it more clearly? By the way, sorry for the unzooming, but right now it might be good. So if it's good, please say it's good. Oh, I can do the zoom in. Okay. So maybe here I can zoom in. We'll zoom in. Yeah, is that okay? Okay. Thanks. Thanks for the feedback. So I did this. So I took a small portion of this collection, right? But let's implement this maniacally thing that I mentioned before. What was it? I want to gather from first index to fifth index, but I want to do this because I'm actually giving my boundaries. I will start from 0th index and I will end this third index here using this two dots here. Sorry, this one. The next step that I might want to implement here, as we see here, the step over. So I implemented the start point, I implemented the stop point, the end point, and the next thing I might be implement the step over. This is optional, by the way. This is not required. But let's say I want to take two steps. So I got YH. What did I get? Why did I got that? Because I started from first index, Y. That's okay. And I will end it with fifth index. That's okay too. So I'm taking two steps. One step, two steps, right? So I'm not taking T. I'm taking H. But from H, I'm taking two steps from here too. O, N. But I can't take N because as we know, this is stop point and we're not including this point. So only YH. Say it with me. Make your video feed inside the code and fully maximize it. Maybe I can do this, but actually, frankly, I don't know how to do this, but I will look for this for tomorrow's lesson. I will take this as a feedback, Khalid. Thank you for your feedback, by the way. Okay, so let's talk about the reverse indexing, right? We actually indexed in the right way, right? Left to right. So this here, left to right, 0th index, first index, second index, etc., etc. This is left to right. But what if we might have do this in a reverse indexing, which means this is negative first index, negative second index, negative third index, negative fourth index, and negative fifth index, and negative sixth index. What would happen if we had something like this? And yes, we have something like this. This allows us actually to reverse indexing, which means I can do this instead of normal indexing. For example, -1. So you got N because, sorry, by the way, sorry, the order, I confused about the order because since it's a reverse indexing, by the way, since it's a reverse indexing, you have to start from the right because it's reversed, right? So I'm confused about the order. So sorry, by the way. So you got N. And if you enter the -4, we expect to gather the T. Okay? So let's make our slicing with the negative indexes, right? So I want to start with -2, I think, and I want to end at -5, right? Okay, so I've got empty string, and how can I do that? Actually, how did I achieve that? I've gathered these strings here, but I wrote it correctly because I want to start from here to here. But actually, we missed some point here in slicing. Actually, our steps are default defining by +1. So +1 means step to this direction, right? +1 means take step to right, right? So if you start from -2, if you step to right, so you're not reaching actually -5, and you're actually diverging from the -1, right? So to converge it, you have to change the direction of your step. And right now, we have taking steps to left because my steps are -1, -1, -1. And as you can see, I took the negative second index, negative third index, negative 4th index, and I'm not taking negative 5th index, 5th index. So this is actually reverse indexing, and you can use it with slicing by taking your steps negatively. Okay, logical operators and Boolean. Boolean actually is another data type which takes true or false. Actually, in the when I first learned about this, that did came me very illogical. So I said Booleans are very nonsense because it only takes true or false. What can they change? Actually, they change a lot, and we'll see actually in our next modules what did they change. By the way, I want to increase my screen resolution. Okay. So Booleans are the data types that stores only true or false. There are no actually third possible value. For example, am I good teacher? Absolutely true, because this is subjective, and it's very subjective, not objective. And do I love Python? Oh, I think maybe I should write something that has false. Do I hate Python? I'm not, because I'm not. So if you want to write the value of your variable, you will get true. And if you want to write the type of this value, you'll get bool, right? Boolean. So fun fact with Booleans, when you remember the type conversions, and let's assume that you have a number as 1, and what if you actually type this, change this actually Boolean? What do you expect to get? So do you have any idea what this will be print on screen? So do you have any idea what is the output of this code? What will be the output of this code? So one answer came true. Congratulations for all of you, because it will print true, because since 1 is considered as true, and what about the 0? 0 is the otherwise considered as false. You will actually convert your 1 and 0s to a Boolean. Here, actually, this is the truth table, logical truth table, and you have some logical operators here, which is and, or, not. Actually, and, or, not, let's think about in English, right? Let's talk about it in English, not actually leave these mathematical things behind. When you say, I will be graduated if my mathematics and physics grades are good. So what is the condition here? Both my mathematics and physics grades will be good. It will not actually, I will not be graduated if one of them will be great and the other one is bad, right? So it has to be that both of my grades must be great in order to my graduation. But think about the or. Let's actually say this sentence with or again. I will be graduated if my mathematics or physics grades will be great, right? So what does it mean actually? This means one of them might be good, one of them's grades might be good in order to my graduation, right? So let's actually implement this on the mathematics. So x and y means it's only true, only x and y is true together. If one of them is false, so and actually give us false result, right? Yeah, I have to success both of your lectures in and. That's okay. Thanks, Adam. or means you have to success, actually it's enough to you to graduate to success one of them your lectures, right? For example, if your X or Y is true, or maybe both of them true, it doesn't matter, this will result in true, and otherwise it's false. And not actually is the inversion of the result. So not X means you actually invert the result. If it's true, you take false. If it's false, you'll take true. That's all. So let's actually code what we learned. So true or false will be resulted in true because in order to gather true result in OR, one of them's true value will be enough. And in AND, both of the values have to be true in order to gather the true value. For example, let's change this with true, and you'll get the true value. And not true means actually inversion of this statement, which is if it's true, not true is equals false, and not false will be equals true. I will write, right? As you can see. And also you can actually make comparisons, because comparisons also returns you some true or false values. For example, if this number is greater than this number, or are these two numbers are equal each other, true or false, etc. So I have two variables, string variables, and if I want to compare these values, I'll gather false because these two variables are not the same, are not equal. So let's get on with lists. Actually, the list is a collection types like string, but list differences, you can store any type of object, right? You can type strings, integer, boolean, any other float, any other complex types in lists. What do I mean with complex types? In C# and Java, complex types means you are creating a class and properties in this class in data. And this class and this data, actually complex type, is a customized data for your need. Maybe, for example, complex type, maybe you have a user data which you implemented here. And this data might have name, surname, maybe ID, because since you are implementing this, you are actually giving the relevant informations, right? You are deciding which information to store or which information not to store. So I want to store name, surname, ID, maybe phone number, maybe grade, etc. This is complex type because you're creating a data. User, developer creates the data. You are deciding which information to keep and which information not to keep. This is complex type. In list, you also can store the complex types, which I shouldn't actually implement this because it's not the actually time to implement a complex type. But in list, you can store any type of data. You can store strings, integer, booleans, maybe floats, etc. And to implement the list, you are using the brackets here. And this means Python understands that, okay, I have a favorite languages variable. Okay, what's the type of this variable? What's the value of this variable? Oh, list. Okay, so in this list, I have items in list is JavaScript, Python, TypeScript. Let's say C#. It's customized according to myself. And JavaScript might be good. Okay. So I'm separating all these items with comma, and I'm creating this list contains 3 items. And same here, shopping cart items. I have a variable name like that. And I actually I added my items. I created a list that contains these items and also random things, which is also a list since it has brackets here. And here I am creating my items here, any type of item. It doesn't matter, right? So as we discussed before, you can index and slicing the collections, but in order to do that, these collections must be actually ordered collections, which will be see in the later modules. What does ordered or non-ordered, unordered collections we will see. But right now, lists and strings are ordered collections. What do I mean with ordered? Ordered means if you want to access the relevant item, you can actually access it with indexing, because since it's zeroth index, this means this is the first item in the list. This is ordered. This is first indexed. Zeroth index. Sorry, zeroth index, first index, second index. This is ordered, right? When you write second index, it goes through zeroth index, first index, and two index. It's ordered. And you can access it with indexing, as we say, and pencil, actually. We wrote kalem here in Turkish. It's actually accelerated Turkish course also. Pencil. And list slicing actually is the same with index slicing. So here we have soccer stars, Ronaldo, Messi, Ibrahimovic, Zidane, Beckham, all legends. Okay. And also in list, you can manipulate the items. You can actually change the items. Adding a new item, you might add item, edit item, delete item, etc. So to actually edit an item, the first thing you need to do is create a list. Okay. Create a list. Soccer start. I have a list which contains these actually football players. And I will say Totti here. My internet name is Manga Totti, which comes from Manga is a Turkish band that I love most. In actually 10 years ago, and Francesco Totti was my favorite football player, and it was also 10 years ago. So I created the name with Manga Totti here. My internet name is Manga Totti, but here I will write Totti. This line does, what does it do? It does change the value of the zeroth index, right? I've gathered the zeroth index Ronaldo, but I will change it with the Totti because I'm assigning a new value to this index. And now I will change it to Totti. As you can see, instead of Ronaldo, I got Totti here. And here I've sliced my list, which means I've Totti here too, Totti here too. I've sliced my index, and I've gathered a portion of my collection, right? Actually, this is my full collection, and I've got a portion of it. Okay, so to clone a list, this works. Okay, that's all. Why is this works? Because there is a fundamental thing about slicing, and I think this is very good. So let's remember what the soccer stars are. That's okay. If you don't give the starting value and give the, for example, end value here, Python will understand that. Maybe 3 here. Python will say, okay, you didn't give me the beginning value. I will expect this 0 here. But if you don't give, actually, okay, that's okay. I will start from the beginning because you didn't give me the starting point. Python says that. And in contrast, if you don't give the end value, Python says it again. Okay, you're starting from first. Okay, that's okay. But you're not giving me this stop point. So I will go until the end. I will go to the end. Python says that. So as actually simple thinking, what happens if I do that? I do that. So I got all the list, right? Because I didn't give any starting or end point. So this slicing will return me to all the values here. If I don't do that, if I do that, actually, if I change the clone, also my original list will be changed. But if I do this, this slicing will return me a copy of these values. So for example, it's also the same. Also, you can reverse an order of the string. How can you do that? How can this works, by the way? Why does it works? It works because let's copy and paste it again. So I didn't give the starting point, I didn't give the stop point, but I give the step. So Python will actually handle this matter like this. Okay, I will take steps by backwards. That's okay. So here, I'm starting from here, and I'm taking back to back. I'm taking these steps because since I didn't give the starting and end point, Python realizes that starting point is -1 and the end point is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, -5. So this reverses the list. That's all. So manipulating the listed items, actually a list, since lists are mutable, which actually means you can change the values of the list, adding new values, appending, inserting, extending, etc. There are many things, there are many functions that you can achieve these actually intents. What did I mean? If you want to append a new element to list, insert, extend, or delete some item from the list, there are several ways to do that. So append actually appends a new value at the end of the string, right? Appends elements at the end of the string. Is that okay? Right. So I got scores here, and if I append this 100 here, I can clearly see this 100 will be appended at the end of the list. So insert actually does the same thing with append with one difference. Is that this difference is actually you can indicate which index you want to insert your value. So here I say I want to insert 34. Okay, but I want to insert this at 0th index, which means this was my scores, and as you can see, I inserted 34 in my 0th index, and I inserted 42 in my 2nd index. Maybe I can insert another thing of value. Yes, another value here. 54. I've actually inserted this in the 2nd index, 0th index, 2nd index, as you can see. By the way, let's do this. Actually extends, let us change here, let lists element at the end of another list. So, for example, you have scores here. Let us remember the scores. What is the scores? What is the scores? Yeah, I got this. But let's assume that I want to add a new list element, for example, 45, 98, 77, etc. So I want to add all of these items at the end of this list. What happens if I do append in the first place? If I do append here, and let's see the scores. As you can see, the last element of this appended value is a list, but I want to add these items actually individually in this list, like all of these. So actually, this is not solving my problem. This isn't solving my problem. Actually, it creates another problem. Since I can store multiple type of value in a list, so I can store a list in a list. So I'm executing these cells again, and this is deprecated. So to overcome this problem, I have to use extend. Extend actually does the thing that I want to do, which means, as you can see here, maybe, yes, sometimes I can give Turkish reactions like like that, or yes, evet, etc., etc. So please forgive me. So here, as you can see, all these items are added as a new item to list here. That's okay. Extend does that. So if you want to remove an element from the list, let's say you have list of languages like programming languages, pop actually removes the last element of the list. I couldn't actually remember the name of list, sorry. So here, C++ is removed, and actually there is another great thing with pop, which is it gives you the element that it pops out. So actually it returns you to element that it removed. So it removed C++, and you can gather the C++ here. Also remove actually, to execute remove, you have to give the value of it. For example, I want to remove C here, and I want to give this value myself. I want to remove C, and yes, C# actually left for me. Only C# left for me. And clear actually clears the list, which means deletes all the items in a list. As you can see, maybe we can create a new, maybe we can copy and paste it so we can see it clears multiple values. Yes, it can clear multiple values too, because it clears the list. So gather indexes and count. So so far we give indexes to a list and we gather the value, but right now we are giving a value to gather indexes with index. So I've got alphabets list here, and this is actually like this. These are the list methods here, so I can use them with lists with .pop, .remove, .clear. Some of them takes parameters, and here I can use it with another list, alphabets .index a, which will return the index of a. Returns index of a. So a has the index 0. Count actually returns me how many of these items occurs in this list. So there's one B here, and I'll gather 1. So let's do the B and let's do the A. So as you can see, we have 2 A's and 2 B's. So if I want to gather the index of A, it returns me the first occurrence of A. It returns me the index of the first occurrence of A. So the A's first occurrence is the 0th index. This will return me the 0. Count returns me 2 here because I have 2 B's here, right? Return occurrences of B. So sorting, reversing, and copying. Sorting actually you can think is as its name, so it sorts the elements of the list. So numbers.sort sorts the elements, and you can actually get this as a new list. So sorted is also a built-in function, and you can give here the list, and it can return you to actually sorted list of it, version of it. So I'm actually saying that again. If you use sorted function with a list, then you can gather the sorted way of it, sorted version of it with sorted. So let's say numbers, I use sort. Numbers sort actually affects the original value, right? I've got numbers value, so numbers.sort here, and it affects my original value. Here, I've got sorted method here, and I'm printing sorted methods, but I also want to print the numbers, the original value here, right? As you can see, my original value isn't changing if I use the sorted built-in function, but I can gather the new sorted version of it, but without affecting the original value. Reverse actually reverses the list, so actually it takes the last element as the first element. So as we did by -1 step in slicing, Numbers that reverse also affects the original data. Copy actually copies the list, so actually they are doing the same thing eventually. So I'm copying a list as a new list, cloning list, etc. Like this. So dictionaries here actually. Oh, okay, that's okay. Dictionaries here. Dictionaries actually is a collection type and holds your data with key value pairs. And it's not actually ordered, so you can't gather the values by indexing or slicing. You have to gather the values by giving its key value, such as name, age. So these are the key value pairs. Key name, value 50. Key age, value 25. Key married, value false, etc. If you are actually remembering, or if you are working with the web development, you might realize it's very identical with JSON data format, which is also a key value format. And also, as JSON values supports, Python's dictionary also supports any type of values here. And in Python's dictionary, you can use any type of data on key values. So I'm creating my dictionaries with square brackets, curly brackets, sorry, my curly brackets, and I'm giving my key double dot value, key value, key value. And if I want to gather any value, I just only have to give the key value of it. So I'm giving the name key, and I'm gathering 50, and I'm giving the key of married, I'm getting the value of this. So dictionary keys, actually we talk about this, but the actually fundamental and the most important thing about the key is you should only have one unique key. For example, let's say user, and let's say, let's copy this, by the way, and also assume that I have another name here, right? And as you can see, I have only single name since I actually implemented two names, but Python dictionary takes the last occurrence of this key. So the last occurrence of this key is name equals to Taha, and that means I might have only single key, only same single key value, which is the last occurrence of it. So as we discussed previously, the Python dictionary keys might be another type of value, which is string, boolean, integers, etc. So if I want to gather the key 777, I will take 1, 3, 4, 5. That's all. So dictionary methods here. The dictionary methods actually keys and values, by the way, and items, by the way. Here's my dictionary here, and let us say I want to gather the keys of the dictionaries, only the keys, and only the keys are the names, age, and country, as you can see. And what if I want to gather the values here? Here, it will be enough to write values here. So I'll gather the values 50, 25, and 30. And also you can gather the key value pairs for each of the record, each of the key value pair. You can gather all of them by writing the items method, by using the items method, which returns us the key value pairs as a tuple, which will we see tomorrow. These tuple values. This tuple is also a collection, by the way, stores more than one information, and this is returns me the items of the dictionaries as a key value. And also you can actually look for if a string, or if a value, not it doesn't have to be string, a value is actually, this dictionary contains a value or a key or not. For example, I am curious about if name actually is in the keys of this dictionary. Yes, this dictionary contains a name key. So I'm looking for that by name in user keys. I'm talking English, by the way. Name in user keys? True. For example, gender. Gender in user keys? False. No. Or 𝗤𝘁 in user values? Yes. Then it's true. By the way, I will not actually develop this project. I'm planning to develop this project tomorrow, or maybe this will become for further study. But if you want, maybe we will actually look through it tomorrow, but that's actually enough for us for today because it has 2 hours passed since we started. So I can stop sharing my screen. Thank you actually staying with me. Thank you for staying with me for the first day of the Python course. And we have 2 more days, and in these 2 days we will dive deeper into Python. We will see another data types, statements, loops, and any other concepts such as functions, which will you allow to implement functional programming. So thank you for all of you. Thank you all of you for staying with me tonight, and see you tomorrow.